Hey there, and welcome to the Do Life Big podcast. This podcast is going to be your jam if you want to live to your full potential and don't believe in half-assing anything in your life. If we want to do life big, that means we've got to get out of our own way because we only have this one shot to make it awesome. I'm your host, Kathy, and I'm a mom of three whose BFF is cold brew, a retired school teacher turned online entrepreneur, and an author. I'm loud, bold, and will always keep it real. I'm determined to live my best freaking life possible, and I'm here to help you do the same. I'll be packing this podcast with tips, motivation, inspiration, and strategies to finally get you where you want to go. And we will have a ton of laughter along the way because, let's be honest, we can't ever take ourselves too seriously, right? I'm so excited you are here with me today. Now let's get this party started. Hey, my friend, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of Do Life Big. I am so pumped to have you here today. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my really most favorite topics, the law of attraction. So we're going to be talking about that today and really diving in on how you can actually get what it is you really want in your life, in your business, in your relationships, and all that good stuff. So tune in, hang tight, because this is going to be a really good one. So my husband and I, we talk about this topic a lot. It's something that I am really big on. I am just so hell-bent on really just living my best life, hence the Do Life Big title. And I just always focus on the things that I want to get in life. And I'm really big on this. And it's something that I even talk about with my kids. And I'm constantly telling them all the time how much power their words and their thoughts have. And that whatever they say or whatever they think is all energy, and the universe is just going to give them more of what it is that they say or think about. And so that's why it's really important that you have to be so aware of what it is that you're actually focusing on all the time. One of the things I say to my husband too is I always am constantly talking about how, hey, you know what? I just always end up getting what I want, or it just always ends up working out for me. And it's not me being like just some cocky jerk. It's me saying that because I just know with certainty that I have the confidence and the belief that whatever it is that I want is going to happen, because the opposite of what I don't want literally doesn't even exist in my reality. Like, it's not even an option. So it's something that I don't even think about. I don't even focus on it because I'm so focused on getting exactly what it is that I want in my life. And so that's the kind of belief that you want to have in whatever it is that you're trying to create in your life right now. And I've seen this play out time and time again for me. So many times in my life when I think back, I'm not going to obviously go through every single example. This would be like a 3-hour podcast episode. But I can think back, like when I was on the verge of having to go back to my teaching job about 9 years ago and put my kids in daycare, I was like, no freaking way. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. There's got to be a solution to this problem. Like, I truly believe there's a solution to everything. And boom, that's when I started my first online business, which was my health and fitness business. And even that mindset around the success that I was going to have with that business was so strong and so certain. And I believed it with every single ounce of my body and being that I was going to build a successful business and that I was going to be home with my kids no matter what. There was no option for this business failing. I didn't even see that in my mind. There was no plan B. It was definitely going to work out. Like, that business not working, or that business failing, or me having to go back to teach and put my kids in daycare, it literally, that option didn't even exist in my reality. It wasn't even there. And the same thing happened too about 6 years ago when I was living in Massachusetts at the time. I was considering moving down to Florida, even though my whole family and all my friends and everything that I knew and I was brought up there and raised there was all there. And I didn't know anybody, or I didn't know anything about Florida. In my mind, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. You are going to freaking love it. How could you not love it? You're going to meet so many awesome people. You're going to make so many great friends. You're going to be living in a house that has palm trees around it and a pool, and the sunshine is going to be beating down on your face every single day. It's going to be great. And sure enough, I moved here and it's been one of the best decisions. I have no regrets whatsoever. Like, I did not even see me moving from Massachusetts down to Florida as being a mistake. I didn't even let my mind go that way. And so I saw this play out one more time where, it's funny, this actually just happened this week, and I'll have to dive more into this as we get further into the episode where it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But I'm part of this business mindset coaching group, and I have a business mentor. I'm really big on, I think everybody should have a mentor in their life, 100%. And so I'm part of this business mindset coaching group. And last year, when I decided to join this group, I saw these top 6 entrepreneurs in the group that had gotten selected. And then what they do is they show you, these 6 entrepreneurs, they share their stories. These top 6 are chosen out of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other people, but these top 6 get chosen, and then they choose the top 1 out of the 6. And when I was watching that, I literally said to Nick, "That's going to be me next year." And guess what? Sure as shit, just yesterday, I was literally selected this year to be one of the top 6 contestants. And so, I mean, I have so many more examples about how the law of attraction can work out for you in your life, but I just always see it working out in my mind. And I want you to always start to see things working out in your mind too for the better. Best case scenario. I know what I want in life, and I know how I want my life and my business, and I want my relationships to work. I know how I want all that to look and work and feel. And even though things may not happen as quickly as I'd like them to, I still know with 100% certainty that it's all a matter of fact of when it's going to happen. And that's the kind of belief that you need to have. Do you have that kind of belief? Because that's the kind of belief that you need in what you want in your life and what you want your life to look like and what you want your relationships to be like and feel like. And the same thing with your business if you're an entrepreneur. If you're someone who wants to run a very successful business, then that business failing or not making it doesn't even exist in your reality. It's just not an option. It's just not going to happen that way for you because you're only seeing it succeeding. And it doesn't matter how long it takes for it to get to the level that you want it to get to. You see it and focus on it succeeding. And that's why no matter what it is that you do, you've got to put 100% of yourself into it. 100% of yourself has to be in it. Now, listen, I've always been a pretty positive person. I have. I've always been that kind of person where I always like to see, best case situations, best case outcomes. Let's look on the bright side, that kind of thing. But I still had to train my brain through the years as I got older to be really conscious to continue to focus on what it is that I actually want, even when things aren't working out the way that I had planned. And so, for example, when I used to play basketball, and I used to love it. I was an outside shooter and I was really, really a great outside shooter. And when I would play and I was on a roll and I'd be getting the ball in the hoop left and right, swish after swish, each time I'd shoot and I'd get it in, I would just always see the next one going in. Like every time I had the ball in my hands, I just was like, this one's going in. It's going to be another swish, right? But as soon as I had that first shot that I missed, obviously you're going to miss a shot, right? But as soon as I started to miss, then what I'd do is the next time I'd go to take a shot, I would think, oh shit, I hope I don't miss this. Don't miss this. Don't mess it up for the team. Don't miss a shot. And guess what? Ultimately, I'd end up missing more times than not because that's what I was focusing on. Instead of focusing on me getting the ball in, I was focusing on missing the hoop, right? So are you focusing on what you want or are you focusing on what you don't want? And this is something that I want you to become aware of. And this is literally how the law of attraction works. This is the law of attraction. Whatever you focus on and believe deeply in, you will attract to you because everything is energy. Everything is energy. We are all made up of energy. Everything around us is made up of energy, but your thoughts and your feelings are also made up of energy as well. And so, what thoughts and feelings and what emotions are you putting out there on a daily basis? Because what happens is when you have these thoughts and these feelings and these emotions, all of that is energy. That energy goes out into the world and it gives you back what you want or what you don't want. It's whatever you're focusing on, right? And so the more you think or feel about something, the more energy you're putting out into the world. And a lot of times what's happening is, and people don't realize that they're doing it. So it's okay if this is you, because this is something that you can just become more aware of, and you can start to focus on this now. But what happens is a lot of times people are sitting there. They're sitting there and they're putting so much energy into things like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to be broke. I just don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. I just don't want to see the bank account go down into the negative again. I don't want my business to fail. I don't want my spouse to leave me. I don't want to get this divorce. I don't want something bad to happen to me or my family. But they're putting so much thought, energy into it, that this is actually what's going out into the world. And then when you do that, you actually attract that same kind of energy back to you, because whatever you focus on is what you will attract. Like, this is a real thing. I remember I was away. My husband always makes fun of me for this, because he always says, "Oh my God, Kathy, like, whatever you say happens. Like, be careful, like, with what you're focusing on or what you're saying, because sometimes, like, bad things can happen sometimes too, right? If you're focusing on what you don't want, right?" And I remember, maybe it was like 4 years ago or something like that. My husband and I, we were on a business trip, and we were in California, and I was sitting down at this big event, and we were at a table, and I was looking all around, and there were like two levels. So it was outside. There was like an upper level, and then there were like 10 steps that came down, and there was a lower level. It was overlooking the water. At the top of these stairs was this big rack, and it had these huge round fold out tables that were used for people to sit at while we were sitting out there. And there was like maybe 6 of them or something like that on this big rack, and they were right at the top of the stairs. And I said to my husband, "Oh my God, how stupid to put those tables like that at the top of the stairs. I mean, they're just going to go rolling right off down the stairs, and it's going to cause a major problem." And Nick was like, "Oh my God, Kathy, don't say that." And I'm not even joking you. Within minutes, all of a sudden, a couple of the tables came out of the rack and rolled down the stairs, crashed into the tables down below, shattered all these vases. I mean, it was a big debacle. So my whole point of this is that you just are really not aware of, like, how powerful your thoughts are, how much energy is actually attracted to it, and how much control you actually have of what's happening around you. You're not really aware of it until you start to really believe in this and adopt this idea of the law of attraction being a real thing, and make yourself aware to it. Then you start to really notice it, how it can come into play, and how it can either work for you or against you. So whatever you focus on is what you will attract. So this is why you need to focus on what you actually do want versus what you don't want. I want you to sit down, and I want you to really think about, what the hell do you actually want? Don't even let the worst case situation or the negative outcome be an option for your reality. Like, it's just not going to happen. And then the more that you start to focus on what it is that you actually do want, the more the focus on the negative will actually go away. And in turn, that's just going to make you a more positive, confident person. And people are going to feel that energy around you, and they're going to want to be around you. You ever been around people like that, that are just got a vibe about them, right? Like a real good, feel good vibe. And they walk into a room, and you're like, oh my, you can just feel the energy change, right? You are going to be that person. So, what you focus on expands. What is it that you want? Sit down and really think about this, and like, get clear on it. Journal it out, write it all out, what you really want. Think about it in your mind all the time. Picture yourself already there in those situations with that successful business. Imagine what it will feel like. Picture yourself in that new home that you want to build or that you want to buy, in that healthy relationship where the communication is great. Whatever it is, that growing savings account, the vacations with your family, that healthy relationship, a 6 or 7 figure business. Focus on that. Don't even let your mind wander to the opposite of those, which is obviously not working out, right? And this is how you manifest exactly what you want in life. And now listen, no one says that there's going to be some kind of fast forward button where you can like push the button and speed your way to it. No one said this is going to happen overnight. But if you do operate like this, and you believe in this, and you practice this, you will be someone who gets exactly what they want in their life more often than not. And you will be the person that people will say, "Oh my God, why does it always work out for you like that? Like, it always just seems to work out for you. You always just kind of seem to get what you want." And it's because you're practicing this law of attraction is in play for you, because you're focusing on what you actually want. But you have to believe with every ounce of your being that it's actually possible for you. That's another piece of it. And you can do that by, visualizing, or you can do positive affirmations, you can journal. Those are just a few examples, right? But every single night, I visualize what I want before I go to sleep, like the outcome that I want, what I want it to look like, not like actual tangible things of what I want, but what I want my actual life to look like with my new business, with my family as my kids are getting older now and as they're going into private school next year and all of these things. And I visualized living in this house in Florida here before I actually moved here. Like I would lay in bed when we had to move out of my home in Massachusetts and we were living with my parents for about 8 or 9 months while we tried to look for a home down here. And I remember sleeping on a mattress on the floor in my old bedroom that I grew up in with my husband. And Landon was super little. He was like 4 years old then, and he was sleeping in the bed with us because he didn't want to sleep alone. This seems to be an ongoing issue that never changes in my life. You know what I mean? But I remember closing my eyes every single night and thinking about how one day I'm going to be in this home in Florida. And I imagined the palm trees all around the house. And I imagined a pool. And I imagined driving around in a convertible. And I imagined the sun and the ocean and all of these things. I visualized it long before it actually happened. And so once you start operating this way and you choose to shift your focus to what it is you actually do want, I'm not kidding. You're going to be pretty friggin' blown away with the just experiences and the opportunities and the people, seriously, that are going to be brought into your life. It's crazy. It's literally like magic. I gave you this example earlier on in the podcast episode today about how I was talking about how last year, when I was part of that business group, I saw the top 6 entrepreneurs get picked and then they voted on the top one. And how I said to my husband, that's going to be me next year. I'm going to be like that. And then I just told you that this week, just a couple of days ago, I was notified that I was one of the top 6 people, right? Well, it's funny how it happened and how it came at that time because I had actually completely forgotten about that. It had been a whole year. I honestly didn't even have it on the back of my mind. And I had a really crappy week this past week, right? It was just one of those weeks where everything went to hell in a freaking handbasket. All right. It started with I flew home on Mother's Day and expected to come home having like a nice relaxing Mother's Day, but instead I flew home. My husband had this massive GI bug, like absolutely awful, could not get out of bed, which then led to myself getting this massive GI bug, not even 48 hours later on the same exact day that my 3.5-year-old got it as well. And I never get sick. And this, I think, was the worst sick I had ever been in my life. I mean, I physically could not get out of bed and it was just awful. I could not keep anything down, not even a sip of water, not a sip of any kind of electrolyte, nothing. It was absolutely awful. I remember I was literally in bed, like crying a little bit about how awful I felt because I just wanted to pass. And while that was all happening, I'm also getting paranoid and worried because next week is my son and daughter's last week of school. And my son's going to be, graduating from one school and going to another one. And my daughter is going to be graduating from like the lower school to move up to the intermediate school. And they have all these really important things coming up. And I saw how contagious this was. So I was like, I have to stay away from them so that they do not catch what I'm catching, what I have right now. And on top of all of that, I had found out that my dad's kidneys were like basically shutting down. And, he was back up in Boston now. They usually live with, him and my mom usually live with us for, 6 months out of the year. So they were down here. They were up, in Massachusetts now waiting for a kidney biopsy. And it was just one of those weeks where I just felt like everything is going wrong. I feel like shit. Everyone's sick. My poor dad, he's already been through so much with his AML and now he's got this going on. Why isn't my new business growing as fast as I want it to? And it was just one of those moments. We've all had those times, right? I can't be happy, go lucky, positive all the time. I'm not a robot, right? And I was like so just feeling down, right? We've all been there. And it was in that moment that all of a sudden I got the notification that I was the top 6 in this business entrepreneur group that I'm a part of. And I literally cried when I saw it because I was just like, oh my God, thank God something good is happening right now because I feel like such shit. But the whole point is that I actually attracted that to myself a whole year ago when I put it out to the universe that I wanted to be one of those top 6 entrepreneurs. And look at it, just happened to be brought into my life when I was in a really down moment there for those couple days, feeling awful. And it just immediately made me feel like, all right, that's right. The universe has got my back. We got this. Let's do this thing. Let's go. So, you know, sitting around and worrying about not having what you want, I never do that. You can't do that because worrying is never going to attract more of what you actually want into your life. And so you can't spend your time sitting down worrying about what it is that you don't have and what you wish that you had or the lack of, things that you don't have because it's just going to repel what you actually want. And so anytime that I get my thoughts and feelings in total alignment with what I want, I am so much more likely to get it. And you will be too. Focus on what you are absolutely certain will happen. Focus on that outcome that is 100%. This is going to happen. This is what I see happening. But the law of attraction also is going to come with you taking action, right? Like we all know, I know you know this, but I do have to say this because sometimes people can get a little goofy with this. You can't just sit on the couch with your little magic genie lamp and wish for all these amazing things to happen without actually not doing any of the work on your end, right? Like just be prepared to work your ass off, but it's so worth it, right? So focus on where you want to go instead of stopping and focusing on what you don't want. It's kind of like today I drove my mom to the airport because she's going up to be with my dad while he goes and gets his, biopsy of his kidneys done and all this stuff going on. And there was a major car crash. And on the way back home after I dropped her off, the road was still blocked off. There was still, cars everywhere, fire trucks everywhere. And people are just slowing down, literally stopping their cars, staring at the crash, probably wondering, what happened? Oh my gosh, I don't want that to ever be me. And instead of doing that, what they should be doing is focus past the accident, focus on where they actually want to go. And so if you can keep that mindset and be aware to that of focusing on where do I want to go? Where am I going? Then your energy is going to shift for you and you're going to start to attract more of what you want into your life because everything is energy and energy is all around us. And when I think about all the successful people that I know, in every single one of them, there's not one that I can't say this to, but in every single one of them, they have a certain kind of energy. When you're around them, they have a certain kind of energy. You can feel it when you're with them. It's like oozing out of their pores. It's a confidence and it's a belief in themselves with where they're going, the direction they're going, which is forward. I've never met a successful person who's gotten what they wanted in life who has negative energy around them. You'll just attract more of that into your life. And you will always get what you focus on. So just start to be more aware. Work on this every day. Focus on this day in and day out. And focus on what you want and not what you don't want. And I think you're going to be pretty blown away with how things are going to start to work out for you in your favor way more often than not. And just as a little reminder, in case you need a little help with shifting those thoughts around instead of having those negative limiting beliefs swarm your mind and keep you trapped, just go to kathyreuter.com/thinkthisnotthat. You can print out my free guide. At least that will help try to train your brain to think more positive, empowering beliefs instead of those negative limiting beliefs that are going to keep you just getting more of the negative, the more of what you actually don't want. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Go try this out. Let me know how it goes for you. And thanks for tuning in today. You know I love you. I think that you're amazing. I believe in you. And I will see you next time. All right, bye. Thanks so much for listening in. I really appreciate you choosing to spend your time here with me today. You totally rock. Hey, listen, if you loved today's episode, go ahead and tag me on social and go share this with a friend right now. Like, do it immediately before the day gets ahead of you and you totally forget. Couldn't be more pumped to be on this journey with you guys. Go make today awesome, and I will see you the next time.